Welcome back to Switzer. Well, he's back. Yes, the king of charts, Lance Lai, the globe-trotting investing accountant from Accountancy Invest, is back with his predictive charts that historically have been on the money. Welcome, Lance. Good to see you.
Good to see you too, Peter.
And as per usual, we'll start off with the last time you were on the show and we take a look at what you said then.
Wonderful. I think that these elections in the US need to finalise themselves, and then I think we'll be okay.
Can you, for the sake of my viewers, what level is T3, Lance?
Sure. T3 is 5556, 5,556.
So I guess what the bottom line is, in case people didn't know what you're talking about, you're saying we're on the way up, and we certainly are on the way up.
That's right, Peter. So that was in October. Yeah. It was 5-4...
Pre-election even.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. And so, look, this is... The Aussie chart's been very kind in terms of the predictability, and so has the US, actually.
Yep. So what do you want to start off tonight?
Well, we'll go on to the Aussie market. I think, you know, usually I do that at the end, but I think, you know, this is a very interesting chart.
Okay, and we had a very interesting day. So there we are, the ASX 200. So what is that telling you, Lance?
Well, you can see that all the way back in April, when it was 5187. This was when I actually projected and looked at T1, T2 and T3 all the way back almost a year ago, Peter. Yeah. And we hit all of those marks, and after the last show that I came back on, which was in October, I was still looking at those T1, T2 and T3s. We finally got over those levels and hit the T3 mark on, you know, in the 14th of December 2016. So we know we've had a bad day today. Yeah. A bad day's been overdue in many ways, hasn't it? Correct.
What is this chart still telling you? Because that S line, that yellow S line, is pretty important, isn't it, for viewers to understand? Very
important. And in fact, what I'm indicating there on that line is that I think we're going to pull back now. We're going to pull back to either the T3 mark, which is the 5,556, or the 200-day moving average, around that area. But you know what, Peter? After that pullback, I'm seeing more positivity still. And you might notice on there, can you see I've got in the far right top T1?
Yeah, guys, we should bring that one back. Go on.
And so the T1 basically is the very high point of a new projection that I think we're going to go for as a target.
What level is that, mate?
That's just under 6,000, 5,998. And it's kind of almost like, if you look back at April, all the way back when it was 5,100, and we're looking at 5,556, I'm saying that at some point I think we're going to go to T1.
Yeah, well, Richard Coppelson from Bell Potter last week put out a prediction that we'll see 6,000 inside 6 weeks. So he's on the same...
Inside 6 weeks?
Inside 6 weeks, which was a big surprise. That's why I noted it. But he may well be looking at the political timetable and tipping Trump will actually excite the market to that extent.
All right, well... Timing-wise, I've got to say, I've never been great, but in levels, I can...
Yes, you have been great. Let's go to the next chart.
So the next one is the US S&P 500. Yeah. This chart is really quite fascinating, and sometimes, you know, chartists like us look for symmetry, Peter. Yeah. And this chart has got symmetry. So on the far left, you can see there that there's been 23 months where it's been nicely in this channel. In October 2014, it broke down and broke out of that channel. So that's 23 months. Yeah. It started to go sideways, as you can see there, those two yellow lines going sideways.
And that's to September of last year or so.
Exactly. So basically in November, it broke up. That's 25 months it went sideways. So 23 months up, 25 months sideways, and it broke up. And as soon as we broke up, you can see on the far right there, it's just shot up. And then we've had, of course, last night's pullback.
So looking at the US market, do you think there's more upside as well?
Actually, similar to the Aussie market, we're going to track down, I think, again. On that chart...
Short term?
A short term, yes. On that chart, if they brought it back up, what you would notice is that there's two small lines, and again I've put an S. And I think in the S it's going to fall back within those ranges. Yeah. It's 2278 and 2224. So it's going to, I think it'll fall between 2.8 and 5%. And again, interestingly enough, Peter, just like the ASX chart, I've got a much higher target. And on that chart there, you can see on the far right top, I've actually got another target. That's 2,472.
Okay, 20,000, 24,000.
It's
S&P.
It's a US S&P.
Yeah, cool.
So 2472, which is a 11% from that pullback range back up, or about 5.5% from here even.
It sounds as though you're saying buy the dips when you can see that bottom.
I'm very comfortable, in fact, with this pullback, Peter.
Okay, great. Let's go to the next chart.
So this is the Shanghai index, and I suppose I've put this up. It's actually a boring chart, Peter.
Okay.
And I put this up because of...
Good. I mean, it's good for ratings, putting on boring charts. Keep going.
But it's relevant because this is China, and there's a certain amount of sentiment that's built in that.
Yep.
Despite all the fundamental talks, which people are nervous and there's negativity, I think that what we see here is, you can see the big yellow lines going across the chart there. I think we're range bound, and we're going to be range bound for a bit longer, I think. There's a big berth that I've given it, and I think it can move around in that. The positive net message in this is that the 200-day moving average is underneath, and it's been tracking underneath for quite some time now, and I think that's building. And
there is an uptrend there.
Yes, and that's building up that positive momentum. I hope that catches positivity in the future.
Okay, let's go to the next chart, Lance.
So the next one is Brexit and the impact of the pound to, on Brexit to US dollar. This has been a fascinating one, Peter, because the volatility's been so huge in this. We first spoke about this in July last year, and you can see on the July in the chart, I came on, it was $1.29. At that time, I projected out the lower levels of $1.25.9, $1.21.2, and even $1.18. You can see on the very bottom there. Yeah. It didn't happen yet. We had Bank of England intervention in between in August. They stimulated £170 billion. The market held, and in September I came back on and I reiterated again that we were going to hit those lower levels, and lo and behold, you can see on the chart the massive dip there went through all those levels, and now we're in a range. We're going to stay in this range between about 1.259 to 1.218. It's a narrow range, and what it reflects is, I suppose, the fundamentals are that they're working through some of the issues. There's a bit of uncertainty, and I suppose the currency's taken the hit.
Okay, mate, well, we're out of time. I guess the interesting take I get from all those charts, particularly the first few, is that you're reasonably positive about stocks over the course of 2017.
Absolutely, Peter. And it's kind of, I'm trying to ignore some of the fundamentals, because that's for people like yourself that understands it far better than me. And the politics. The politics is so uncertain. And this is the reason why I gravitate to the charts. I can ignore those things.
Yeah. Well, I must tell the audience it was September 2017 when Lance called me on a Saturday to tell me he was very worried about what he saw in the Shanghai market, and maybe this was telling us that something crazy was going to happen. And of course, we know in November 2007 some crazy things happened at the start of the GFC. Great to see you, mate.
And you too, Pete.
That's Lance Lai from Accountancy Invest. That's the show for tonight. Thanks for joining us. See you tomorrow night.